Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
It is picked off by the line. Darius Slay's got it. Coming back right side 25. Picks up a block at the 30. Darius at the 40.
Drink it in, drink it in. Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Rolls to the right. Stafford throws deep. Got a man out there. End zone. Caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Marvin Jones.
Stafford! Drink it in, drink it in.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Cornbread.
Stafford! Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what is going on, everybody? We are back in the house on the Detroit Koolaid Cast here on a Wednesday for another Detroit Lions podcast. Really excited to come to you guys today. And of course, on the other end of the line, I mean, the legend, the absolute stalwart of this podcast, Grifka, in the house. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, man, it's just another day, another dollar, man. You know how it is.
You got $1 today? How?
It happens, man. I was walking into work and one was in the parking lot. So I want to thank my people for leaving my Christmas bonus out in the parking lot.
Your people, I mean, we got the people here on the show, but you got other people?
I don't know. So I'm figuring somebody probably dropped it, probably trying to get their Starbucks and their Merce or their purse or their wallet and their paperwork, and they dropped $1.
I thought you went couch cushions or something maybe and found a buck.
No, I'd be like loose change. I'd be like, I have enough to jingle, not enough to fold.
Oh, man. Grifka, let's jump right into the Lions stuff. So what I want to do off the top here is I'm not fully going to speak for you, but like I've said many times on this show, I'm really not a social media guy by any means. I don't think I've been on Facebook and I don't know how long. I don't do Instagram. I'm not on many of these platforms. But when we got this show going, I drummed up to Twitter because I want to be able to let people know we're out there and try to, after it got rolling a bit, I was like, man, I can actually just talk sports with these people that I'll probably never meet. This is fun. So I really had fun on Twitter. And like I said, there's a few people that will go negative or kind of say little things here or there, but for 98%, 95% has been tremendous, really fun. So I don't know if people have checked it out, but I'm at Derek Oakery on Twitter, and we like all day, I'll just sort of have it up in different ways, working, doing other things, and be able to give a draft nugget here or there, be able to answer questions, sort of talk back and forth with other Lions fans has been tremendous. I know today we had some Caruso's going, which was fun. Those are always good for a laugh. And I just really enjoyed it. So I just want to thank all the people out there that have interacted with me on Twitter, as well as have given me a follow and kind of followed the show. I think that's been a good way we've been able to get out there. So before I toss it to you, Grifka, with that being said, we have some fan questions that came in today. I just sort of threw it out there, and some of our loyal listeners got back to me, and I said, man, we're going to answer that on the show and shout you out. So I just thought I'd say that. Have you had any good interactions or any ways you've enjoyed sort of either social media or just the show in general, Grifka, because of all the awesome Lions fans out there?
Yeah, generally, like you said, not on Facebook as much. I will, mention something about the Lions on Facebook, and my friends, they'll come back. Some feel the way, I do about stuff. Some are on the way, even more way positive than you, Derek. Can you believe that? But on Facebook, but like you said on Twitter though, at Grifka DKC, every once in a while I'll throw something out there. But I really like when somebody else puts something out there, and like you said, you can just have a discussion, a conversation, a little bit of back and forth, and like you said, probably never meet these people, and they can either take it, that I don't know what I'm talking about, or they can think, well, they don't know what they're talking about. But I like it. What I like the most about it, because people tend to, be tough online. You know what I'm saying? But I've never been in one of those discussions where somebody's just like, you're an idiot or you're stupid. And that's what they drop it at. We can have a nice debate and there's no name calling. It doesn't get something like that. So that's what I really like about it. You can find those people like that are able to do that. And, so that's what I like about it.
That's like the opposite of all social media. Everyone says it's such a cesspool, and all it is people are trying to pick fights and be tough. But you're saying it's somewhat the opposite for you. It's been tremendous for me. I don't get in any of those except for you mentioned name calling, Grifker, people coming after you. I think you said something. It was again. I told you I think about a month or two ago. Hey Grifka, can we get some more positive or at least some decently balanced tweets from you when you do come out of your Twitter cave and say something? And you're like, oh yeah, I'll try to work on that. And you did like one, I think. And now every time I see you tweet something, it's something with the thumb down or something with the negative Grifka twist, which I'm trying to help you with. So you said something this week. I jumped all over you. Do we want to discuss this or what? I was just having some fun, but I've been known to get after you when you say something crazy on Twitter as I do on the show.
I don't know if people want to listen to us debate our Twitter battle. I guess they can follow us on Twitter. Follow me at Grifka DKC. You might be able to find it. And you can hit up Oker. You can see our debate.
Yeah, you can get at me at Derek Okrie. Again, the spelling is DEREK, the only way to spell Derek, and then OKRIE. And yeah, me and Grifko, it's an extension of the show. If Grifko says something dumb on the podcast, I yell at him. If he says it on Twitter, I yell at him, and he does the same bad arguments on Twitter as he does here on the show. So it's comical that way. It kind of, again, it extends the podcast in that way. Grifko, let's stop messing around. We got fans, man, that sent in some questions. I want to throw these at you. I had a chance to sort of read them. I got some bullet points, some answers here that I want to give the people. Are you ready to do this?
Yeah, let's hear from our loyal listeners. I'm sure they have some great questions for us that we can break down for them. I'm interested in this.
Absolutely. Real quick before we get to that, like, can you thank the people? Sort of. You did that whole diatribe. You got to thank the folks that listen a little bit harder, Grifka. I mean, show a little love to everybody out there, would you?
Well, first I want to give my love to God. He's the one that put me in this position. I want to thank him first and my family. But I really want to thank the listeners. I appreciate you guys, tuning in, listening to us, coming to us on Twitter. We all make some valid points. We're all Lions fans, some more sunny than other ones, but still, I really appreciate you guys. I know Derek really appreciates you guys. So thank you.
There we go. Absolutely. Gotta pull that out of you, Grifka. But offline, people, Grifka always tells me how much fun he has with the show. It's been fun seeing people listen, seeing people say his catchphrases. We really are not only Lions fans, but we've really grown in this whole podcast game. And just
I love all the bells I get on Twitter. Sorry to cut you, but I love all the bells on Twitter. That's awesome. Especially I can't remember who did it, but they put the little meme out there of Daffy Duck hitting a little bell like at a counter. Oh, that made me laugh so hard.
That was that guy Arthur, man. He was getting after you when I had to jump on you, and then he belled you, which I thought was tremendous. Thank you, Arthur.
That was sweet. It really did. Daffy Duck sitting there just ringing a bell. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. So yes, much love.
All right, so we're getting to questions. Hey, Grifka, hit like, too, on some more of these great takes I have on Twitter, with these good things people say. You only like your own stuff, or every once in a while you retweet the show. Yeah, you got to show the people some appreciation out there, especially your great co-host here.
Okay.
All right, so I put it out. Again, we're not social media experts by any means, but we try to put the show out, the morning it drops on the podcast, as well as you'll hear me with takes, like I said, but also, hey, about to go on the pod. We'd love some questions. So I did that kind of late in the game today. Got some questions. Grifka, this first one is from DJ. He says, any key prospects Patricia and staff focus on since they're coaching in the Senior Bowl? Any thoughts? I mean, I know you've done a lot of lazy boy scouting or just lazy scouting, as I like to call it. Any thoughts on the Senior Bowl yet, or is that just so far off your radar with all the functions you got?
Well, I have been doing a lot right now, but at this point, with how many spots, I guess, need to be filled with this team, I know we often talk, it's like, oh, they're close, but I would kind of be looking at everybody right now. I think they would, I think it really helps them that they are coaching. I know some people out there, I was reading some people's stuff, they thought it was just kind of pointless and no big deal, but, being able to see these guys up close, I know that worked a long time ago for Ziggy, and, yeah, I think them just looking at everybody, I just want to be focused on one player, one position at this point.
Did you really just hit the people with everybody, Griff, as your answer? Come on now.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So, DJ, I got a couple names for you. When I'm looking at the Senior Bowl list, as well as just players I think might catch Patricia's eye, you got Kinlaw there, the guy that I talked about on my draft show, kind of saying that this guy, I mean, I don't know that he's going to reach the Derek Brown status because I like Derek Brown a ton. But Kinlaw, size, defensive tackle, penetrator, he's got some game. To me, Anthony Jennings, again, he's from Alabama, so, there's some interesting, things to look at there. He's sort of like that off-ball linebacker, but also maybe with some size and rushability. I think he may catch his eye. A certain guy that Grifka I know has watched, because they play a lot here in the state. Uche, is the guy who will be there. Who do you want to do the song, Grifka, for the people or no?
I don't know what song you're talking about.
Only song that kind of has the word Uche in it that for a little Jay-Z jam from back in the day.
It slips my mind.
All right, I'm trying to work Grifka singing into the show. We can't do it. Okay. And then an Ohio State product. I feel like Lewis, another kind of, is he an off-ball linebacker? Is he an edge guy? He might be there. And then this Anai kid, like I've been reading up on him, and some people love his size, speed, and ability. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", 260 pounds, edge rusher. But there's some people that just hate this guy from a, bend perspective or just what he brings to the table, effort, all types of things. So I still got lots of homework to do on a lot of these guys, but I wrote him down. Anai is a name that you need to know throughout this process and kind of see if that's a guy you like. Can you get him in the down the draft board a bit, and would he fit kind of what the Lions do? So there's a couple names for you, DJ, from me. And then Grifka said, just keep your eye on everybody. Next question is from Lane. Lane says, if Burrow were to fall to 3, do you consider taking him? Or is the King's ransom potentially offered, too much to pass on and be worth it to, even if Burrow is there, to trade out and go in a different direction? Grifka, I think I know your answer, but go ahead.
Oh, you trade out. If somebody's giving you a King's ransom because Joe Burrow fell to 3, you trade out of that spot. I mean, I think that's what you're going to answer as well. But yeah, if it's too good to be true or something like that, it's like you're dropping your jaw over it. Yeah, do the deal.
Grifka, what's your thoughts on Joe Burrow in general? Give me your Grifka scouting report.
I think he's going to be a good pro. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, he's only got one. He's only got 1 year starter, and 1 year starting in college generally doesn't translate, or takes them a little longer to, become a decent quarterback. Tannehill, but I think just by the offense that LSU runs, it's not that a lot of that read option and their wide receivers tend to have a little deeper route tree. It's not as extensive as a pro route tree generally, but I think he'll translate a lot better to the pros than say Tua. So, but that's me.
Oh my gosh, Grifka throwing shade at Tua on the sly, and then I think there was a long diatribe way of Grifka saying, he's good.
It's like, duh. Wait, I'm telling you, man. When you get my Mel Kiper back draft analysis paper, it's just gonna say Joe Burrow, good. That's all you need, right there. That's all you need to know.
I can't wait till we get into the sucks category. I'm sure that'll be much more filled up in the good category if we're talking your draft book. But Lane, this is simple for me. Like Grifka hinted on. I mean, even if Burrow is there, you do have to trade out if and when other people come a calling. I put out on Twitter last night, again, hit me up with a follow. I said, it wasn't a super hot take, but I'm like really sold on this kid from a moxie perspective, and just he can make all the throws. He can also run it when he needs to. Seems to have great pocket presence. Like Joe Burrow to me is real special. I think he'll come in the league, probably start from day one, and then if I'm assuming he goes to Cincy, and if he does, if Cincy can get their together, I feel like they could be rolling. So I'm like super high on Joe Burrow overall as a prospect, and he's not going to make it to 3, but if he did, I mean, I'm trading out basically for anybody and everybody. Let's put it that way. Grifka, next question. Gloria's daughter, a tremendous listener of the show and always has good Lions takes. This is a tough one. She writes, linebacker coach ideas, with the new DC in there. Who makes the most sense to coach the linebackers? Do you have any names off top of your head or any type of coach you're looking for at linebacker if you don't have a name? Because you probably don't.
You're right. I do not have one right off the top of my head. I generally don't look in at the position coaches. It's I don't. I know you probably do, Derek, but I don't. But it's obviously going to be
or the free agent.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. So it's going to be somebody who obviously fits what they want to do with the scheme, and that's going to be, I don't know, maybe a linebacker that can actually teach Jared Davis to tackle. That would be nice, or maybe cover somebody. That'd be nice as well. Or maybe Christian Jones, maybe get him to cover somebody, or not play so stiff. I mean, so yeah, somebody like that would work really, really well for the Lions.
Oh man, like I say, I think Gloria's daughter stumped us both on this one because, like you said, I didn't have too many of those secondary type names, but I just wrote down here, like, I think, people are going to say, well, this never happened, but like, there's all that talk about Mayo being a defensive coordinator. He's kind of over there in New England, sort of like coaching linebackers, coaching assistant coach, whatever he is. I just wrote his name down because he was a great linebacker in the NFL. He was a great guy too. I remember like the Lions, were real interested in drafting him. I always liked him, not only in the draft process, but when he played. And, maybe if him and Patricia had a really good relationship, maybe he would say, hey, long term, maybe there's more opportunity, show what I can do in Detroit than there is in New England, where you move up one peg at a time. So, I don't see it happening, but I feel like if there's a way they could get Mayo here as a linebacker / front 7 type coach, and then have Unling, I believe is how you pronounce it, kind of dealing with the secondary because that's his specialty. That might be kind of a neat combo to put together. I know Eric Schlitt on one of his podcasts was saying he was hoping maybe for a Mayo and Richard combo, and then they went and got their DC, so that's not going to happen. But that was the name I threw out there. So let's keep it moving, Grifka. Next question. This comes from Gandalf, the Honolulu Blue. He said, what is the most important thing that needs to happen for the Lions to make the playoffs next season? Playoffs?
The most important thing would, gosh.
Don't say everything, Grifka, please.
No, I just don't want to do the general term like improve defense. Well, I mean, get the soundbite. Well, duh. I mean, the defense has to improve. But for that to happen, I think the biggest thing is going to have to be like an improved pass rush. The Lions can't allow quarterbacks to sit back there and just, go through the progressions twice before, making a pass. Get the quarterback down to the ground. I think that's got to be the biggest thing. Don't make those defensive backs, have to cover for such a long time, especially if, a tight end's out there and Jared Davis is covering, because heaven knows he'll just leave the tight end standing there, to go tackle the quarterback, and then the tight end will catch the ball for a first down. So.
All right. Hey, Grifter, before I get my answer, because we like to have fun on the show, I said a couple of shows ago I need you to do live sound bits, and you kind of just did one, but you also didn't give me time to give the Grifka duh sound bite. So why don't we give the people like at least 2 back to back, like the sound bite versus Grifka live? Can we do that?
Sure. You want the sound bite first or the Grifka live first?
I'll go sound bite. You give it live. I'll go sound bite and then give it live.
Okay.
Here we go, everybody. This is sweeping the country. This is the Grifka duh.
It's like duh. It's like duh. It's like duh. It's like duh.
Oh man, that was gold. Oh my goodness. Like I don't know what I like better, the live or the audio, but they're both great. So
it's almost
thank
kind of
you.
Like being in a wax museum with the real person standing next to the wax museum. It's like, which one's the real one? Duh. Is it live or is it Memorex? Do you remember that commercial? Wait, do you remember that commercial? The Memorex commercial for the cassette tape? Is it live Or is it Memorex?
No, I don't, but I did see a remake of the really old Folgers commercial recently. It made me laugh. The old Folgers jingle. I hadn't heard that in about 2 decades. That was funny. So Gandalf, I was about to move on, but let me give you my take. So what do they need to make the playoffs? Well, first of all, let's just say it right now, the Detroit Lions are going to be much improved in 2020 with a new free agent class and draft. They will make the playoffs, but here's how. So the most important thing they have to do, I mean, it comes down to 3 things for me. It's pressure the quarterback, from the edges as well as the inside. It's, find another cornerback. I feel like we've always skimped on cornerbacks. It's time to go get one in free agency or the draft. I'm still debating on where I would take a Kuda. I'd much rather find a free agent that knows what he's doing and can put opposite of Slay and really have some swag and go make plays, either Chris Harris or one of the guys of his caliber that has a few years left, rather than draft a rookie who's going to have to figure it out. Because, Grifka, cornerback's one of those toughest positions out there, just like tight end, quarterback, everything else they always make an excuse for. And then overall, just better coverage. Like my guy, everybody knows on this show, on the offense side of the ball for a while has been Kenny, but on the defense side of the ball, ever since I learned about him and saw his go-go gadget arms, is T-Walk, Tracy Walker, especially since he put on the 21. And I was very disappointed for probably the last 8 to 9 games in his overall coverage. Yeah, he'd make a few plays, but much more so was he getting burnt along with my other guy, Will Harris. So, better coverage from those guys, a better corner, even better play from Slay with that pass rush. Oh, baby. I actually don't have the soundbite, I don't think, but there's my live bit for the day. So that's what they need to get to the playoffs, and they will get to the playoffs in 2020. You heard it here first. The next tweet, Grifka, I don't know if you've heard this guy. His name is Frank Ribble.
Yes, Frank. Way to show up, buddy.
Woo! Frank Ribble.
I knew Frank would be jumping in there.
I didn't mean to give you the Rod Allen wooey. I meant to give you this, Frank.
Wow! 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 Wow!
The Frank Ribble live quad wow on his own question. I don't know if it's worth a quad wow, but let's see. It says, would Patricia be interested in a pass rush specialist? I am thinking of a bendy speed rusher that might be available on day 3. So Frank wants a pass rusher that is bendy, and he wants them in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round. Come on, Frank. And then he says, Shaq Barrett is my dream free agent signing. I know you can at least speak to Shaq Barrett, Grifka. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if – I think Shaq Barrett, for the type of year he had, he might be commanding a little too much money just to kind of be like one of those pass rush specialist guys, to come in only on 3rd down. To find one in the draft that late, a bendy one, geez. If you're like that bendy, I don't think you're waiting to the 3rd day. That guy might be somebody who is, like you said, that diamond in the rough type player. So I think if you're going to be getting a guy like that, and if Patricia was to take one like that, I think it would be somebody who's kind of like one of those veterans, maybe trying to get the last ounce of football out of him. Kind of the Lions have tried that. It seems like, at points, and it just doesn't seem to like work out. Either they break down or they don't produce like Lions, what they thought they would. But if he was going to do that, I think that's what he would do. He would try to get like one of those established veterans, 1 or 2 years left, and just using him as the pass rush specialist, kind of like a la Dwight Freeney or something like that. I'm not saying Dwight Freeney's still around, but when the Lions did that, so that's what I believe.
Grifka, that's a bell for Dwight Freeney. And whenever you talk about rushers, you know who you have to, say for the people.
Well, I don't think like Reggie White, is gonna, come back. No offense, rest in peace. And I don't think Lawrence Taylor. I think his knees aren't, holding up. So I don't think they'll get either one of those guys.
I'm not saying they're gonna play. I just said you got to mention them. You got to go to your gimmick. So, Frank, man, apologies first off because I don't have rounds 4 through 7 all figured out here in the draft process. You want a late day 3 edge rusher, but a couple names I looked at that may fit that bill. They may go mid rounds or even higher. Who knows? Alton Robinson, Daryl Taylor, and Josh Uche. Those are three guys that have kind of that speed outside linebacker type build. Have some name cachet from some different schools, Syracuse, Tennessee, and Michigan. Maybe that fit the bill. As far as Shaq Barrett goes, I'm not a fan. I know he's got a good story and blew up kind of this year in Tampa Bay, but when I'm looking for like a big time edge guy, like I'm not really looking to go out and pay top dollar, especially, now that we have Trey Flowers. If we did not have Trey Flowers, maybe I would be willing to open the checkbook. I'm much more so looking for draft or that middle of the road guy that's young, that really has some upside to sort of, pair up maybe with Okwara, maybe even the Okwara boys over there on the edge, depending on where you can get the other Okwara in the draft, might be interesting. So we got more of these, Griff. I got to put this into hyperspeed here. Brian Ives asks, what are your thoughts on trading up for Chase? So that's a great one for you. And what are some realistic trade down type scenarios, or just give them a couple teams that you might think the Lions could trade out of number 3 for? And would you trade up for the phenomenal, the generational talent, as I called him recently, a guy that I'm all in on, Chase Young?
Would I trade up for Chase Young? I think the asking price may be a little steep, just to go up. Was it one spot? Pretty much to get him, because once again, it's going to be one of those things where Washington has a lot of holes to fill as well, so they might be asking for a larger king's ransom as well. So I wouldn't trade up just one spot just for Chase Young, but that's just me. Now, trading down, depending on, what you're looking to do, where you're looking, what else you can, get from somebody. Who is the popular team that has that? I'm trying to think. Somebody has 2 first-round picks this year. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Lots of people, man. Miami's got 3 of them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking Miami. That's Miami. That was one. Sorry. I would look to maybe do a deal with Miami. I'm not saying maybe they're number 5 or something like that, but their 18 would be a pretty decent one in the 26. I don't know if Miami would give up both of those or something like that, but trade down to do that. There's a good talent at the back half, first round. You'd be able to do that. Get something there. Maybe I don't know, a wide receiver, later in the first round. I know there's a few of them, at that point that you'd be able to snag. I don't know if you obviously
receiver in the first round is what you're trading down for, Grifka?
Depending on who's there, yeah.
Oh. Lots of other needs, man, more so than a wide out, especially. Yeah. Anyway, can I jump in here? We got some to get to. Brian Ives, I yelled at you on Twitter. Go listen to the Believe in Lions show where I talk for 30 to 45 minutes about the draft. I laid out 10 possible trade down opportunities. My favorite, Grifka, because I'm sure you didn't listen, was the Oakland Raiders. Because John Gruden will do whatever it takes to move up to get his quarterback now that he's been there for a couple of years. I love to take their 2 first rounders. They can move on up. I don't even need much else, to be honest. Let's get that done. And then I'm trading up for Chase Young. Yeah, if he's there at 2 and I'm only going up 1 spot, I mean, I think it took, the Bears when they did the tremendous move to go up and get Trubisky. I think I was looking at it recently. They gave up, a couple picks, but I mean, to get a guy like Chase Young, I mean, yeah. And any other time you ask me, Oakrey, do you want to trade up? The answer would be absolutely, positively not. But for Chase Young, oh, hell yeah. So, entertain it, see what's out there, but trade down is always the opportune task. Grifka, I got a 3-parter here from Skip, my favorite Caruso guy on Twitter. I'm going to throw these at you, short answers. Let Skip know what you got. All right?
Okay.
Skip wants to know, in 2017, the D-line had a 68.1 PFF grade, 30 out of 32. In 2018, they had an 84.8 overall grade. With the addition of Snacks, really helped them transform the line. how would you tweak the line to get back to the 2018 status?
Jeez, they would. Another defensive tackle would help. So if you're looking to get trade up for Chase Young, I mean he's obviously the end, but Brown out of Auburn, would definitely help. Definitely help with that. They would need to scheme a little better. We saw plenty of points last year where they were doing the rush 3, drop 8, and either the Lions just didn't have the talent, or, the personnel to kind of cause that havoc. But I think to get back to where it was, they might have to change the scheme, put 4 men up there, take one of those slow linebackers off the field.
All right, next one says, if the salaries that these players desire are the same, this is Skip talking, of course, my feelings, I would sign Ndamukong Suh to a 1-year deal instead of Mike Daniels. Skip thinks that Suh makes people around him better. Grifka, do you agree or disagree?
At this point in his career, I'm thinking about that. I think at this point in his career, I don't know how much he's going to make him better. I don't think he commands the double teams like he used to. But yeah, I would take Suh over Daniels simply that way, so everybody can rip out the old Suh jerseys and wear them to the games. So they'd be able to do that. Plus, I still think he has a little bit, a little more left in the tank, and Daniel's been hurt a lot the last 2 years. So.
All right, so we got one more from Skip, and then I got to cut this short. I'm going to get Leo in here, and then we got to get out. So Skip writes, perhaps this is an unpopular opinion. He writes, I think Rashaan Melvin was injured to some degree the whole year. This made it impossible for him to create the great season that he had in Indy, where he played man-to-man at an elite, he wrote elite level. The Lions should re-sign him. Your thoughts?
No. That's last year was not an anomaly because he pretty much did the same thing in Oakland. So that's a trend right there, right? Especially with cornerbacks in football. So no.
There you go, Skip. Those are answers from Grifka. I will
great questions, though, Skip. Great questions. Appreciate them.
Well, Skip. No, I don't have the music right now or live crew, so I can give you. But Skip, appreciate you, man. Always fun to laugh on Twitter with you. Last one we're gonna do, Grifka, from Leo. Leo, classic Seinfeld bit. He writes, what are some prospects that you have an eye on for the Lions? Oh, this is a great one for you, Grifka. Playing in the East-West Shrine game.
Playing in the East-West Shrine game? Sorry, man. I don't even know who's playing in the East-West Shrine game. So you can field this one. I don't watch college all-star football games. I don't. It's like, oh, that game's on. Sweet. Okay.
You always tell me you watch the games, so
I don't watch all-star games. I don't watch the college all-star games. I don't watch the pro games. I just don't watch them. Like, I can't remember the last time I watched the Kelly Tyer Blue-Gray game, considering they stopped that one however many years ago. Wait, do you remember the Kelly Tyer Blue-Gray game? That was always on Christmas Day? Do you remember that one?
No.
Okay, see? Okay.
So, Leo, let me help you out here. First of all, appreciate the question. Second of all, I'm beating Grifka up and appropriately so, I might add, for his prep for these draft type questions. But like I say, the East-West Shrine game, really, like the beef I have is that, like, okay, they had the Senior Bowl, seniors only, right? I don't know why this next All-Star game with all the underclassmen isn't incredible. Like, all the good players are the underclassmen, but none of them ever play. So the East-West Shrine game on paper sounds like it should be incredible, and it is a bunch of bumskis, a bunch of people that probably won't make the league, maybe a player or two here or there. I think there was a report, scouts were saying, hey, we might get a couple second rounders out of this East-West Shrine game. It's like, yeah, not much else. So I did some digging for you, man. I don't have too much in regards to like who might fit the Lions. I did look around, and I guess there's some buzz about this kid, Malcolm Perry. He's the Navy quarterback. He's an option quarterback, but he's down at the East-West Shrine game playing wide out. They say that He's a do-everything type guy. To me, when I read up on him and looked into him a little bit, it seemed like everybody's trying to find that Taysom Hill guy. So this is a guy that might be able to catch it, run it, throw it a little bit, move around. They seem like they were kind of interested in him. So there's a name. Mason Kinney. Out of Berry College. I mean, just a tremendous school there. He was highly touted for his route running and ball skills, as well as just kind of a guy that's been on the come up those first couple days. So that's something to kind of look at. And then Grifka, I thought you might pull this out of your back pocket. John Runyon is down there, Grifka, from Michigan. He's down there blocking his tail off, as well as Jack Driscoll, a guy that I see in a lot of mock drafts, kind of in that second, third round of their offensive tackle, and a guy that I'm curious where this guy's going to fall. Shaq Quarterman, man, of Miami. He's a guy that had a lot of buzz a couple years ago, and now he's sort of like, people don't like his tackling. They compare him, I don't know, to Jared Davis. And you know me, I'm always willing to sign up another athlete that can run and hit and do some things. So we'll see how he tests out and how he does. But Shaq Quarterman is down at the East-West, I believe, as well, and somebody to keep an eye on. So, Leo, that's all I got for you, man. I don't have any more in-depth, but I did give you about 6 guys, and Grifka, well, you know. We are done with the mailbag. That's the Kool-Aid mailbag for the day, Grifka. I want to take a quick pause, come back, and I want your just quick takes, Grifka. Not. I don't need a history lesson, but we're going to talk about the new special teams coordinator, because I know you love special teams, and the new defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Right after this break, we'll be right back. Detroit Kool-Aid, we're back in the house. Thank you again for listening to our sponsors. I know there's been some people that have actually went and started their own podcast on Anchor. I think that's tremendous. And we really appreciate you guys supporting those sponsors. That really helps us out. Grifka, the Detroit Lions signed a 33-year-old special teams coordinator, Braden Combs. The people are waiting on the edge of their seat for your in-depth analysis of Combs and everything he brings to the table. Go ahead, sir.
Well, everybody knows special teams is a third of the game. It's a very important part. So Cincinnati actually had a pretty decent special teams, rating this year. Sorry, didn't watch a whole lot of Bengals games this year, but just reading up on him, they did have a pretty decent special teams rating, especially with kickoff coverage and punt coverage. So I know the Lions had a lot of penalties this year. Hopefully, he can do something with the we always talked about the punt return and the kick return. We always seem to have a block in the back or a holding, so hopefully he can turn that around more so than John Banamingo did. So I'm okay with the hire. He's no Stan Kwan, but what can you do?
I mean, when you say he's no Stan Kwan, I say this.
It's like, duh.
But and when you say penalties, I mean, what you mean? Like every kick ever for the whole season? On every NFL game I watch, there's a flag on every play. You mean that?
Yeah, because obviously teams can't practice special teams, so guys just hold and block in the back all the time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, man, pretty incredible. This guy. I mean, you kind of said Cincinnati was good. I want to say they've been one of the top special teams units multiple years. If not the best. I think I read up that they were the best, and this kid is 33 years old. I put here, he looks like the dude you see at the bar where you're not sure if you can be cool with him or if you hate him. He's always out there. I mean, his pictures just look funny. He's got the crazy haircut. He's got the shades on. But, hey, man, the Lions really do need to find some of these coaches that are on the come up, that have new ideas, that are hungry. He may be one of those. I found out here, Griff, this guy has been with the Bengals, get this, since 2009. That would make him 22 years old at the time that he started coaching somewhat with the Bengals. That's crazy to me. So he's an 11-year coach here in 2020, basically, or 10 years at least, and just barely 33 years old. That's crazy. What are we doing with our lives, Grifka? That's the question. He was under this guy Simmons, their special teams coordinator, who again is regarded as the best special teams guy in the league. He's been under him for a while. Kind of was his time to go take a stroll out on his own and do his thing. my biggest issue, this guy has been a scout, quality control coach, an offense, defensive coach. He says he has to know both sides of the ball because, of what he does on special teams. My biggest thing, and we'll get into it when we talk about the DC, is like, I just think there's something to be said about calling plays, about being in the fire, about your track record, because you don't have to be a 12-year vet and like all these great accomplishments, but there's something about like actually making calls out of a headset and not doing it for the first time in your life. And between our special teams coordinator and our new DC, Corey Unlin, these guys have never done it. And like, I assume Matt Pat's going to be calling plays on defense, but this kid on special teams, I feel like, yeah, there's not many plays to call, but it's your first time being the guy, your first time standing up in the meetings. Like, sometimes that works out great with the McVays and some of these whiz kids of the world, but a lot of times it doesn't. So I'm not ever going to just vilify somebody because they don't have this history, because you can go in and bring in a head coach that's been a head coach for years and they're just terrible. The league's passed them by or they're just not good. But everybody knows when you show up to your first day of work, whatever job it may be, you're a little out of sorts. You really don't know. You're trying to translate things from maybe another place that you've worked, or you're trying to learn the people. There's a lot going on. So, like, I think with Brandon Combs as well as Corey Unling, like, that's got to be taken into consideration, that there's going to be not only a learning curve, but, these guys don't have a ton to draw off other than their positional coaching and, what they got in their back pocket, which we don't know what that is yet. It hasn't really been time tested. So, speak to that for a second and we'll talk about the DC.
And
this is where you agree.
Well, no, I think sometimes you just got to give a guy a chance. And like I said, I read both sides of it. Like I said, people that are, very down on like every hire the Lions make, and like ones that like, okay, give the guy a chance. This guy's gonna be good. He's done this, and I think he just needs a chance, really. And people are like, well, what type of coaches are going to hire on with a guy that's only going to be around one more year? It's just like, well, okay, well, you're giving Matt Patricia an awful lot of credit there, so they almost make it sound like he's scraping the bottom of the barrel, but. I just special teams. I think special teams is a big part of coaching, and because you got to deal with so many different players, and everyone's like, well, sometimes just like in college, like, oh, they have their superstars play special teams. Well, yeah, but I don't think you can really. I don't want to see Kerryon Johnson covering a punt. I don't want to see that stuff. So you got to deal with so many guys and to be able to evaluate so much talent. The guys that are going to be on the back end. So Matt Patricia, those guys, Daryl Bevel, Unlin's like, yeah, this guy can step in and play your fourth safety, your fourth cornerback, or your fifth wide receiver, but I need him as a gunner. I need him as, the punt returner, something like that. So to be able to evaluate that talent, the guy's been around a while. I think he just needs a shot.
This guy was highly sought after. Grifka, before we move on to the DC, do you want to tell the people about the story you had to tell me every time I saw you when the Lions had Nick Fairley and he kept kind of having his issues? You had to tell me about the time he ran down and got hurt on covering a punt and you just would never let it die.
Yeah, is that like the dumbest thing in the world? Are you actually going to put Nick Fairley out there, your number one draft pick? Hey, Nick, you're going to go out and cover punts, and then you bust your foot? I'm surprised the gravy didn't come pouring out with that lazy SOB. God, Nick Fairley. What a terrible draft pick. Knew that draft pick was horrible. That guy was lazy in college. Like, you're like, how do you like him? I'm like, well, he takes a lot of plays off. Oh, no. I'm like, no, he sucks. And guess what? Nick Fairley sucked. No, I can't believe after he, like, signed somewhere else, people are like, no, bring him back. Why? Is he gonna drive the cart onto the field? The Lion helmet to, like, take the guys off with his bad broken foot because Jim Schwartz had him out there covering punts.
Okay, we got it, Grifka, but
Nick Fairley, the gunner. Can you believe that?
People, I had to hear this every time we go to a game. Grifka would bring it up, just like the other things he beats into the ground. But my favorite part of that take, Grifka, was the fact that here, I'm about to give you half credit and beat you up on something. So I remember the night they drafted Nick Fairley. Nobody thought it was going to happen. He fell down the draft board. They took him. Of course, I'm excited. Why? Because I'm an optimistic Lions fan. I want the team to do well. And because in college, if you even go back and watch Nick Fairley's, cut up reel, he's a freaking wrecking ball. This guy was a 315-pound, just demolish people, blow people off the ball, get after the quarterback, athletic as hell, tore it up in the big games, Grifka, which you always want to count as like 8 games rather than just 1 or 2. He had everything going for him, and I'm like, Grifka, this guy's a dancing bear. You don't find big guys that can run like this. You're just like, oh, I don't know, I don't like him, or I don't like the pick. You wanted gosh, I remember you wanted the corner, the guy that's been playing in Chicago. Now he's over in New York Giants. The Prince Amukamara was your guy. So again, I remember all of this, but here's the thing. So you said all that. I'm giving you credit that, like, yes, you weren't high on the pick, so of course you beat it up for the next decade plus when he didn't do well. What we're gonna do this year?
He reminded me of Sean Rogers. I remember saying that to you. He just reminded me of Sean Rogers.
Okay. Who had flashes and was good, just didn't cut it. Nick Fairley had some medical issues when it all was said and done. But here's my point. So sometimes you revert back to these picks that you were so grandiose on, and sometimes I make fun of you and sometimes I give you credit. This year, Grifka, we're getting your picks, because I was just the other day, like, looking back at the picks between me and Hughes, what we made live on the clock when all the chips are down, like, hey, we'll never be the GM, but if you could be the GM, it's very, very interesting, because some of these takes you have of like, oh, he sucks, he won't be good after the fact. Like, it's a lot harder when, like, you have 2 minutes to decide who you would take for the team at that point. I was looking back at like 2014, 2015. It's not that easy. And like I even tipped my cap to the GM saying, like, some of these picks they make are pretty awesome, because us as fans, I think we know X, Y, and Z. Like, when we really have to make it in real time and live with it for 5, 6, 7 more years, whatever it is, since that 2014 type draft I was looking at. Yeah, it's a little dicey, to say the least. So we're getting your picks this year, Griff, because you can't say in 6 years that you knew so-and-so wasn't good when really that was just some random thought. But then I look at your pick, and it's some bum that played 1 year in the league and then bounced out. So we're doing that this year. We're holding you to it, because I'm tired of some of the revisionist history. Oh, I knew Nick Fairley sucked, where everybody else thought he was going to be just a dominant piece.
I told you he was lazy. He was lazy. There you go. No revisionist history on that. I remember that. I also told you Eric Ebron sucked too. Hey, was I right on that?
Okay. Yeah, I'm about to say, bring up your 3 or 4 you got right, and the couple times you have made picks, you're no better than anybody else. You don't know what you're doing in the 3rd, 4th rounds. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. Let's get to the DC and then get up out here. Corey Unling, 48 years old, 20 years of coaching, basically all on the defense. 2004, he started at a really low level with the Patriots with Matt Patricia. He's never been anything more really than a DB secondary coach, kind of an assistant defensive coach, whatever that means. Will he call the plays? Does it even matter? Like, I don't think he will physically call the plays. I think those will come from the head coach. But I do think that he's got some smart, some moxie, he's got a little something. It's like that it factor. I don't know what it is, but again, it worries me that he just hasn't done it. But I like your point a minute ago about, all of us think, oh, just go get Wade Phillips, just go get the Gerard Mayo, go get these guys that are bigger names. When really, if you look at the NFL across the board, I'd say probably 70% of the time they're picking and bringing in people that is totally off our radar, or guys that we think, why would you ever pick that guy? And like 30 to 40% are guys, oh yeah, great acquisition, or great pickup, great draft pick. I'm pretty sure these guys know not only more than us, but have lots of other intricacies they're considering them more so than we do. So that's why I always lean to trust in Matt Pat, trust the coach. Why should we trust them? Because they're professional head coaches. They do this for a living, and this is all they do. And we sit here with a microphone or with a few stats and think we know better. So I wasn't surprised that was a little bit of a guy off the radar. I kind of thought it would be, even though, I was throwing out names here or there. And sure enough, it was. So any thoughts on this guy, or any thoughts on, hey, like I said, maybe the name isn't the big splash, but maybe he's got what it takes, as well as there's something to be said with knowing a guy and being able to work with him well versus an unknown, or maybe you bring somebody in with a track record, but you can't work with the guy. You know that's not going to go well. So I'm all right with it.
Yeah, hit the bell, because I'm okay with it as well. I think, once again, Patricia, like we always kind of discussed, the mother goose, was he the one calling it? Is Matt Pat? We're like, well, it's Matt Pat's the one's calling it. So I think Matt Pat just he was looking for somebody that he'd be comfortable with, has the kind of the same mindset, as he does on, what type of players they're looking for, what types of schemes they would be looking for. I was reading something, was it yesterday? And they were saying, no, I can't remember. I think maybe it was your boy Justin Rogers or something like that, or But they were asking
not
like
DB. Better not have been the sports writer Hall of Fame DB that we all know and love.
Yeah, but they were asking like Eagles insiders, like people in the organization, because Jim Schwartz's name was up, for like possible head coaching candidates, and they were asking, who inside, Eagles house would replace him, and Unland's name kept coming up. That was the guy the Eagles had tabbed to be the defense coordinator replacement if Schwartz was to leave. That's what a lot of Eagles insiders were saying. So, and I thought the Eagles had there was points they had pretty decent defense. They seemed to get, a lot of, they seemed to get passed on a lot this year. It seems like you could pass on them a lot more than you could run on them. But that's one of those things. I think Matt Pat was just really looking for somebody, that he was comfortable with. Go out, teach the guys, this is the scheme we want, this is what we're looking for, this is the same type, this is the type of defensive back we're looking for, this type of linebacker, and so on and so on. So I think I'm fine with the hire. I know people are complaining about, just hire another friend, just hire, nepotism, hire another friend. That's what everybody does in the pros. I mean, that's what I mean. You always hear those stories about the guys, the coaches are at the, at headquarters until like 2-3 in the morning. Then they're back there at 7. I mean, you don't want to like be working all those crazy hours with somebody you can't stand, but hey, he's a pretty good defensive coach. So no, you want to be there. You want to go know the guys you're comfortable with. So I'm okay with it. And if the defense sucks this year, then we all kind of know the whole thing will be swept away. The whole, coaching staff to be swept away. They're not going to be changing defense coordinators again.
Yeah, man, we'll see how it works out. There's definitely some question marks, some mixed opinions, but like I say, you just got to sort of believe in these guys, and they're going to go down with these hires, as you just noted. And but I don't see them going down. I see kind of Matt Pat taking a bigger role. I see them having better talent, being healthier, and that's really what makes all the difference. Everybody can beat up these coaches, as you sort of just did. Well, the Eagles got passed on a lot. Yeah. How is their personnel doing? How was their health this year? Well, yeah, they were beat up a ton in the corners and at secondary. So, they're playing guys that are subpar and therefore getting passed on. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to a lot. I like it when the players say, hey, it's up to us to go do it on the field. It doesn't sometimes matter so much what's called or like what's drawn up in the dirt. You got to really go out and cover the guy in front of you and get the ball out. And when the ball hits you in the hands, make a catch on defense, sack the quarterback. I think that you will see that, and yeah, there's going to be some schemes and stuff drawn up, but to me, it's always a personnel type issue, and I'm curious to see what happens. I think it's either going to be a really great hire, but man, this is a great, DC under 50 years old that can work with Matt Pat and that can draw up some more aggressive D as well as, turn this thing around, or it's going to be kind of like you said, the backside where it's just like this guy had no track record, he hadn't really done it, and here they couldn't get up to speed or get him rolling in time and get intermix. It's hard to bring in new people. And now we've got, multiple new defensive, offensive line coach, lots of moving parts. So I'm curious to see how it all works out, but glad to get him in here and be fun to kind of watch him at the Senior Bowl and see what they do from that perspective as well. So Grifka, that's all we got. Before I ask you the question of the day, I just want to remind everybody, we got a Wednesday show, and then we also dropped that Friday show. So nobody else that I know of is doing multiple Lions podcasts a week other than the Detroit Koolaid Cast. So if you're loving what you're hearing, you're laughing, you're having some fun on Wednesdays, make sure you always check us out on Friday mornings. That show drops before you head off to work or before you hit the gym, whatever you do early in the morning. That thing will be ready for you before 6 a.m. for sure. And on Friday, we're going to just to promote a little bit. Grifka's got some questions for me. He's got a surprise he will not tell me about off the air, so that'll be fun. And Grifka says there's some holes on this Lions team. I mean, Grifka.
It's like, duh. It's like, duh. It's like, duh.
Grifka says he has some holes, but he's going to ask me, how do we fill them? Draft, free agency. He's going to go position by position. That should be some fun back and forth. So make sure to catch us on Friday for that show. And hey, Grifka, you got anything else for the people?
Nope.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Remember,
Drink it in, man.
and we'll be right back here on Friday for the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. We're out.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.